Picture this. It's 7:15 in the morning. You're sitting in your kitchen, wearing the same gym shorts you've had since 2019. Your coffee's getting cold on the counter. You open up your brokerage app, just like you do every single morning, like checking the weather. It's a habit. You've been doing it for over 20 years. But today, the number on the screen looks a little different. There's a new comma. $1 million. You stare at it for a second. You refresh the app just to make sure it's not a glitch. The comma is still there. You've officially hit 7 figures invested. Now, if this were a movie, this is the part where you start screaming. You pop a bottle of champagne, text your boss that you quit, and go order a Porsche. But do you know what actually happens? What nobody tells you? You just kind of stare at it, go, huh, okay. And then you get up to go brush your teeth because you have a 9 a.m. Zoom meeting and a deadline to meet. This video is about why that underwhelming reaction is actually the right reaction. Today, we're going to talk about why the millionaire dream they sold you on TV was a total lie, what hitting $1 million actually feels like in 2026, and the hidden tax trap that owns a quarter of your money before you even spend it. If you've ever wondered whether the word millionaire actually means anything anymore, stick around. Let's break down the math. The myth of the millionaire. Before we dive into the numbers, we have to talk about the cultural baggage of the word millionaire. For the last 100 years, this word has been hammered into our brains. Game shows like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire were built around it. Entire industries sold you courses on how to achieve it. Somewhere along the line, $1 million became shorthand for you've made it, you won capitalism, you're done. But here is the problem. The math behind that word completely fell apart decades ago, and nobody bothered to update the script. Let's do a quick reality check. $1 million in 1960 had the buying power of about $11 million today. Even back in 1990, $1 million was worth around $2.5 million in today's money. Because of inflation, the word millionaire has lost over 90% of its original punch. So, how rare is a millionaire today? Well, if you walk down a standard American suburban street with 100 houses, statistically, about 18 of those houses have a millionaire living inside. Sounds like a lot, right? But here is the catch. Out of those 18 millionaires, only about 5 of them got there by actually investing liquid cash into a 401k or brokerage account over a 20-year period.
The rest? They're what we call house-rich, paper millionaires. Their entire net worth is tied up in the 4 bedrooms they're standing in and the inflated equity of their real estate. And you can never tell who is who from the driveway. The guy with the brand new leased BMW in the driveway almost certainly has less invested than the guy 3 doors down driving a dented 2014 Toyota Camry. That's not just a stereotype. The largest studies of wealth in America consistently show that the most common cars driven by actual millionaires are Toyotas and Hondas. The people screaming about their wealth rarely actually have it. The income illusion. Okay, so you have $1 million invested. Here is where the math gets genuinely brutal. When most people fantasize about hitting $1 million, they picture themselves retiring immediately. They imagine sitting on a beach, living off the income, and watching the dividends just roll in. Let's look at what those dividends actually look like. Let's say your $1 million is parked in a basic S&P 500 index fund. Today, the S&P 500 to dividend yield sits around 1.3%. That's a historical low, mostly because companies prefer doing stock buybacks these days instead of paying out cash. But let's do the math. 1.3% on $1 million is $13,000 a year. That breaks down to about $1,083 a month. That's roughly $35 a day. You cannot eat at Chipotle on $35 a day in 2026, at least not if you get the guac. Living purely off dividends with $1 million is a complete fantasy. But wait, you say, what about the famous 4% rule? Historically, yes, the 4% rule, created by Bill Bengen in the 1990s, says you can withdraw 4% of your portfolio in year one, adjust for inflation every year after, and reasonably expect not to run out of money over a 30-year retirement. So, 4% of $1 million is $40,000 a year. Let me put $40,000 in context for you. The average Social Security check for a retiree today is about $22,000 a year. So your $1 million portfolio pays you a little under double what the government hands out for Social Security. It's a comfortable supplement, yes, but it is not private jets and Beverly Hills. In fact, $40,000 a year is hovering right around the federal poverty line for a family of 4. If you want to quit your job tomorrow on a $1 million portfolio, you can. You just have to live like you're broke to do it. The invisible roommate. But wait, it gets worse, because I've been talking about your $1 million like it's actually $1 million. For most people, it's not.
If your money is sitting in a traditional 401k or a traditional IRA, the IRS is essentially a roommate who has been living in your account rent-free for 20 years. And when you retire, it is move-out day, and they are handing you the invoice. When you pull money out of a traditional retirement account, every single dollar is taxed as ordinary income. If we assume a blended retirement tax rate of roughly 20 to 25%, your $1 million is really only about $750,000 to $800,000 of spendable cash. The IRS quietly owns the rest. They just haven't sent you the bill yet. If that same million had been in a Roth account, where you already paid taxes on the seed money, it would be a real, no-strings-attached $1 million. A Roth million gives you significantly more spending power than a traditional million. And nobody talks about this because nobody likes reading about taxes. But when someone tells you they have $1 million invested, the real question is, what kind of million? The psychology of wealth. Now, you might be thinking, man, this is a lot of cold water for a milestone that is supposed to be a massive celebration. And you're right. Hitting $1 million is an incredible, life-changing achievement. But the reason I'm being so blunt is that the cultural mythology around the millionaire title actively harms people. When people finally hit the number and realize their life doesn't look like a rap video, they feel cheated. They feel betrayed. And because they feel like they don't have enough, they start making bad decisions. They start chasing crazy returns, gambling on crypto or options, swinging for the fences to hit $2 million because $1 million didn't fix all their problems, and the math punishes them for it. In recent surveys by wealth management firms, they asked actual U.S. millionaires if they considered themselves wealthy. Almost 2 out of every 2 said no, they did not feel wealthy. When Americans are asked what it takes to actually feel wealthy today, the average answer is somewhere around $2.5 million. In places like San Francisco or New York, it's over $4 million. Your brain is the worst friend at a party. You finally hit your goal, and your brain leans over and whispers, "Cool, but have you seen what Dave has?" It's called hedonic adaptation. There is no magic plateau where you stop wanting more. The bar just moves. The snowball effect. But here is the good news. Here is why hitting $1 million is actually the most important thing you will ever do financially. Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett's legendary business partner, once famously said that the first $100,000 is well, I'll keep it PG, a nightmare. He said the first $100K is the hardest money you will ever earn, and you have to do whatever it takes to get there. Walk everywhere. Use coupons. Skip the vacations. Because once you have real capital, the math changes.
Adjusted for today's inflation, Munger's $100,000 benchmark is probably closer to $300,000 or $400,000. But the principle is exactly the same when you hit $1 million. For the average millionaire, it takes about 20 to 25 years to build that first $1 million. You are pushing a heavy snowball uphill for decades. But once you cross that threshold, you hit the rule of 72. If your $1 million sits in the S&P 500 and earns a historical 8% return, and you never add another penny to it, it doubles to $2 million in about 9 years. Think about that. It took you 25 years of grinding to build the first $1 million. It takes just 9 years of doing literally nothing to build the second $1 million. From $2 million to $4 million, another 9 years. Compounding is the only employee in the world who shows up early, never asks for a raise, and gets more productive the longer you ignore them. The first $1 million is your down payment on freedom. The second $1 million is when the grinding becomes optional. The real shift. So, what does life actually feel like when you reach $1 million invested?
It feels like your dog needs an emergency vet visit, and the bill is $800, and you just hand over your credit card without doing the math in your head first. It feels like your mom's water heater dies, and she needs $1,500, and you just Venmo it to her before she finishes explaining what happened. It feels like the 2 a.m. version of your brain, the one that used to wake you up in a cold sweat worrying about the mortgage, has finally gone quiet. Your life looks identical from the outside. You still drive the Camry, you still mow your own lawn on Saturday, but internally, the voice saying, "What if something goes wrong?" has been replaced by a quiet, confident voice that says, "You can handle it." You don't feel rich, you feel safe. You realize the prize wasn't actually the number on the screen. The prize was the moment your money started working harder than you do, allowing you to keep your job because you want to, not because you have to. So you put your phone down, you make your toast, you finish your coffee, and you go to your 9 a.m. meeting. And honestly, that peace of mind is a much better prize than the one they sold you on. If this video gave you a different perspective on the millionaire milestone, drop a like and subscribe for more honest conversations about money. I'll see you in the next one.